What's up, brother?
Aaron,
You as well,
what is
man.
up, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing great, dude.
How are you
Good
doing?
to always connect with you, brother.
Good. Yeah, I appreciate you hopping on. And I want to dive in a little bit about the experience you've had with RevPilot so far. And kind of the journey you had. I guess we can just start from the beginning. I, I I guess my first question would be like before we actually got started working together, what was going on in the business? What were you trying to solve? And then when you first thought about working with us, was there
Yeah,
any like hesitations to
yeah.
get started?
I
And
would
if so,
say
what
in
were
terms
those?
of like the problem we were looking to solve, when we'd first started this offer, obviously like we were pretty lean and we were using Go High Level, right? And I think Go High Level is a great tool up until you get to a certain revenue point, and like it really has a lot of good functions, but it wasn't giving us like the great functionality that we needed. So we needed to pivot. And I think what was happening was I knew I wanted to use Close. And I knew obviously you were the guy to go to. And we were just so indoctrinated inside of Go High Level that it was very, very time consuming to really get to a point where we could actually use Close. I think we actually had this migration period of like 2 months that we were still trying to get everything over there. And it was actually making things worse because we were half in and half out. That was like the biggest problem, getting away from Close from a CRM
Yeah.
perspective, moving to OneSub from a calendar booking scheduler perspective, and then really kind of diving into all the zaps that we had built out over the last like year or so, and like kind of being like, shit, we got to start from scratch. And how do we do this without the business breaking, especially as like things are scaling and
Yeah.
volumes going up. So yeah, that was the biggest problem. And I think you'd asked like, what was like my hesitation? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you had any hesitations, I know everyone obviously you got objections and you got different things. You're
Yeah.
kind of making that decision.
No, actually, I
Was
think
there
the call
anything
that
holding
you and
you
I had was
back?
actually extremely enlightening. Like the way that you guys had set up the process with like the checks and balances actually was something that I never really had thought of before. And I'm not going to give away the goods here on the call in terms of your IP, but but yeah, like the process that you guys put into place, not only just from like the tech side, but even kind of like looking at our sales process, and then even giving me some ideas of like, hey, here's some ways that you might actually be able to have better visibility on your metrics, on your tracking, on your closers and your setters numbers versus all the manual things that I'd had them do just through like EODs. Was definitely a different approach that I had never thought about or never seen before from anyone else. And that in itself has provided a lot more clarity on like making sure that actually all of our contacts are getting contacted. So I think that in itself, from like the demo side of
Amazing.
things, told me, okay, cool, Jordan's an expert. I should listen to him on not only like getting everything migrated and making sure, you know, all the automations are working, but even like just on some of the consulting that you had on the sales process specifically.
Yeah. Awesome, man. That's good to hear. Once we got actually like rolling and got into the process, what was it
I
like for
think
you
for
and your team?
us, it provided a lot of clarity, right? Our offer is pretty unique and boutique since we are helping business owners get access to 0% interest credit. So there's a lot of things from the marketing side of the data attribution to make sure like someone is actually like an MQL. And then there's a big difference on like whether they're an SQL or not. So even kind of getting into the nitty gritty of
Yeah.
being able to use some of the financial data that we get from the applications and using that as like a filter to be able to make better decisions on marketing, filter those people out for the salespeople. So we're not like wasting time talking to someone that we actually can't help. I think that in itself has caused,
Yeah.
number one, just like more speed. And also like we have a little bit more scalability because I think before we'd hop on calls and we'd have this financial data, but we didn't really have a way of being able to filter out for like the sales side specifically. So I'd have, you know, my closers and setters hopping on with calls with people that we really couldn't help in the first place. So I think by just getting more clarity and just having a better process and having the marketing system being able to really communicate with like the sales side of things and having that as like a filter, um, you know, we've been able to just really kind of dive into our marketing attribution on a quality side of things and make sure that we're actually getting SQLs on the calendar.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a huge one for a lot of people. Obviously, we want to make sure sales reps are optimizing their day. They're not doing things that they don't need to be. They're not clicking on things that they don't need to be. And we're just as efficient as possible
Absolutely.
all the way through the sales process. So, um, Cool, man. Well, what would you say? Like, if you had to pick two examples, one or two examples, that really stood out of just like the results that you were able to achieve because of the
I would
implementation,
say
what would those be?
with like the checks and balance systems that you guys have, actually having visibility that the team is actually doing their job. I think for the most part, right, you want to feel that you have confidence that your team is reaching out to everybody that's on the calendar. Obviously, the contacts that are coming in from like the opt-ins or app submitted, no booked. And I think with the system and process that you guys have implemented, it's very clear whether that actually happened or not, like that activity actually happened or not. Versus relying on number one, me having to
Yeah.
dig through the CRM and actually see it, like actually checking myself, or cross-referencing with like their end-of-day reports. So I think, still having obviously the process that we had with our EODs and like, putting in the metrics, but then being able to actually like look at the data inside the CRM. We had never been able to use the CRM as a source of truth,
Yeah.
right? We'd always relied on manual inputs specifically from like the closers and setters on their end of days to really have that as our data. So now that I have two sources of truth, one being like the actual data that I get from my sales team versus also the CRM, obviously there's some disparity here and there, and I can actually go in there and see what actually happened. So I'd say that's like a huge win for me as the director of sales over there to really make sure that like, yeah, we're, our speed to lead's good. We're contacting every person. No one's just like being left, unanswered. Right. So I think that in itself, I would say is like the biggest benefit that I can see. And then obviously like what that has caused, like the effect, is, increase in revenue, a lot more time back for me because I don't have to go into Go High Level and wait 5 minutes for a screen to load,
Yeah.
So obviously like, us transitioning to close was always the plan. So you guys just made that process and that transition really seamless, especially with like the level of support that you guys give, to make it happen. And it was pretty fucking quick. Yeah.
Love that, man. We like speed. Speed loves us and we love speed. So um that's incredible. And yeah, having clarity inside of the system obviously is to me the most important. Everything kind of builds on that. So now at the end of the day, we are big closed CRM supporters. And obviously you've been running your sales process on their system that we set up for you. What do you love specifically
I
about
think Close
closed
is
CRM?
the one CRM that is actually designed for salespeople, like period. Whereas like a lot of the other ones, like obviously we're coming from Go High Level.
Yeah.
I think Go High Level is great, especially for companies that are at a certain revenue where it reduces your cost of just reduces your cost, and it's not necessary to have all these other softwares. I think that's great for a lot of companies that are scaling from 0 to 100K, maybe 200K, but then once you kind of exceed that, you need a little bit more. um you just need a little bit more. And I think with Close, I had previously
Yeah.
used it in the past before when I had my own offer and with other offers that I've consulted on, so I'm probably a little biased towards Close and HubSpot in the first place. um yeah. But I do think like from
We all
a
are.
like if like as an actual user, like if I was still closing or setting myself, number one, it's quick, dude. It doesn't lag. It provides everything that you need from a sales perspective. And I
Yeah.
think it's again, it's like it appears that it's like it's for salespeople built by previous salespeople, which is what I like.
Love that, man. I couldn't agree more. And the load speed is it's a true thing. We're actually just looking at it literally yesterday of HubSpot and Go
Yeah.
High Level and just like opening up a contact page and like how long it takes compared to close. It's like it's actually pretty crazy. You add that time up over
Yeah,
the
dude.
course of
And
a year.
salespeople are like
It
I'd say,
adds up.
the biggest
So
prima donnas in the world. And yeah,
yeah,
if that's gonna mess up their efficiency, then I'd rather pay for that difference so they can actually get the better output.
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, if someone was on the fence, and they were to come to you, what advice would you give them of working with us? How would you help them
I would
kind of work
really
through
make
that
sure that
process?
obviously, like, number one, the problem that they actually have is the real problem. I think that's one thing that I learned from our conversation was like, I just thought like, hey man, I just need help migrating. right? And it's like, cool. It's probably just like every other
Yep.
offer where it's like, yeah, I just need help doing this one little thing. This is all we need to do. When in actuality, there was other things that going through the process, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that that was something that we could do. Oh, I do like that visibility that I get on this now. And like, so there's a lot of added benefits that came just kind of getting into the trenches with you guys. Um, and overall, like the support was amazing. The access to you, obviously the access to your team, how quickly that was able to happen, the weekly touch points, the ability to just be able to ping you guys on a daily basis, like in Slack, and get a quick response, and have things running without us having to actually like manage anything, right? It's just like, hey, here's a checklist of what we need to do, and then 1 to 2 days later, it's done. So if you're looking for speed, if you're looking for expertise, if you're looking for obviously just working with good people and human beings, do it.
Love it, man. I appreciate it.
Cool.
That's all I got. So cool.